Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Kyle Carroll from MyMMAnews.com and Carroll's Corner MMA podcast. Today we got Australian Peter Miller on, who's a conditioning coach, a sports and nutritionist. Peter, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How's it going?
Doing well. Now, I understand you're from Perth, Australia. You said it's 10:22 or 10:24 there in the morning. How's your day going?
Yeah, not too bad. So for your listeners, I'm not actually Australian. So I'm originally from the UK.
Oh, okay.
So
My apologies.
yeah, everyone can not understand me most of the time anyway. But I'm originally from Liverpool.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've been in Perth now for about 4 years. So
Awesome.
yeah,
All right. How do you like it down there?
yeah, it's good. It's good. It's quite funny because everybody thinks I'm Irish. So it's a daily thing that everyone asks. Oh, what part of Ireland are you from? It's like, not actually Irish. Is it close? It's like, yeah, sort of.
That's funny. Now let's dive in. You're a sports and conditioning and nutritionist coach. Tell us how you got into it. I know you went to school for it. What drew you to it?
um, so, uh, so originally I started off when I was a kid, like finished school, didn't really do much in school, and I started training to be a plumber. And like 6 months in, I was like, I don't really think this is for me. And I'd always been interested in sport, and like in school, that was the only thing I was really good at. So I decided to retrain again, went to uni, did a sports science degree, did a master's degree. And then when I finished my master's, I was like, sweet, that's time to set up the business and take over the world. And it wasn't as easy as that. And I moved to Australia thinking like, set up my business would be great. And, things didn't really work out. And then started it online, and then I had quite a couple of guys just messaging me. I used to just post out quite a lot of content, like fitness related, nutrition tips, and then a couple of guys messaged me who were competing, saying, do you do any weight cut stuff? And I'd always been around that area as a kid, I trained, and I had friends who were fighters as well. So I started giving out a bit of advice, and then it was just a spiraling effect. Once you get like a recommendation, a referral, it's just the
Mm-hmm.
power of online, where now I've got guys, Australia, America, I've got guys in UK, South Africa, Russia. It's like, it's crazy the way like, yeah, the power of social media can put your name out there. And I'm pretty lucky that I've got a job that I love, and it's a growing area as well. So it's just continually learning and making the fighters experience, better every time.
Absolutely. Now, how many fighters do you have working with you?
At the moment, about 40, 45 at the moment.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a lot of
Yeah.
fighters.
Yeah, so it takes, especially with the time differences, it's
Mhm.
sort of like, you speak to your Australian guys during the day, and then when a certain period of time during the day, you'll speak to another set of guys. But it's it's a cool problem to have. Like, as I said, it's something that I love doing. So you manage your time well, and yeah, it's pretty cool at the moment.
That's awesome. Now I guess let's dive into like some of the things that people struggle with. Cutting weight. What is one of the biggest issues you see people have when cutting weight? And then those who are successful, what are they doing correctly when they are cutting weight successfully?
Well, I think if you go from the start, where like a lot of guys say they get a fight and the you know 4 to 8 weeks out, for example, and the walking around weight's far too heavy to the fight
Mhm.
weight, so like and it's a it's a struggle. There's not that looking after the bodies during that out of fight camp. So you'll fight, balloon up again, fight again. It's just that continuous cycle. And over the period of time, you can do that a few times. Cool, but the body starts to, after a few times, go, hold on a sec, like we need to, we need to save energy and calories, and like it just makes it hard and harder. Your metabolism drops, and it's like, unfortunately, I've mentioned it to quite a few people. Like with combat sports, there's not a lot of research out there. So, for example, if you wanted to look at, you know, carbohydrate recommendations for a football player, basketball, you could type in
Mhm.
on the internet. There's lots of research articles saying this is what you do. With combat sports, MMA, there's very, very little. So I don't sort of blame a lot of the guys because there's not that research. There's a lot of pass down, hearsay, so and so did it this way, so and so did it that way. But that's a big problem. It's just the education. A lot of people just don't know what to do, and as I said, it's been passed down from someone in the gym. John
Mhm.
lost 8 kilos in a week doing it this way. Oh, must work. Well, he lost the weight, but did he do it the right way? Probably not. And like my job is trying to educate people to, you don't have to starve yourself. If you have a proper structured plan, you've got enough time to do that. You can make weight pretty safely, and I won't say easily, but a lot better than what they've potentially done in the past.
Absolutely. And now I was a wrestler in high school and a little bit of college, and wrestling is one of those sports where you're always cutting weight. Especially from young age, you see people having their kids cut weight. But you're right though, there really is no like research out there like how to exactly do it. It's kind of more like a guideline from an older coach or someone who understands, I
Yeah,
guess, a little bit better than most. But
yeah.
so when you're cutting weight like that, what is the kind of like dangers? Like you said, it like slows your metabolism, but I know they put rules in effect now in high schools in the United States how much weight you can lose over a certain amount of time. When you cut weight like that, what does that do to your body? Like shutting it down, like you shutting organs down?
Well, we'll start from like a dehydration point of view. So like, to simplify, you can look at the total body water in like three compartments. So it's extracellular fluid, which is fluid around the cells, the intracellular fluid, so
Mhm.
it's like fluid in your main organs like kidneys, your brain, and then the plasma, which is fluid in the blood. So when you go through periods of dehydration, it firstly takes blood from the plasma, and put from water from the plasma, which is it's okay. You couple of percentage dehydration is okay, but as you start to get more and more dehydrated, it starts bringing fluid out of them vital organs, and the research shows that we don't know how long it takes, regardless of any rehydration strategy, how long it takes for that water to get back in themselves. So, for example, a guy could lose, 5+% of his body weight through dehydration for, say, an MMA fight, and he could drink the fluid, what the recommended amount through the science, and then he could still be dehydrated in them vital organs, which makes him more prone to concussions, when it blows to the
Mhm.
head. So it's a potentially dangerous area, and not potentially, it is. And a lot of guys, that I've worked with who've come to me, it's shocking to see like what they've done in the past. They're like, oh, I've lost like 6 kilos in the sauna. It's like it's insane. It's like I can't, like it's so dangerous, and especially the things with like concussion, and there's more research out on like CTE and stuff like that. It's like the long term effects of it. Like that's the thing as well. There's no research to show the long term effects of this.
Mhm.
So but you can only speculate that it's just not good. And you get certain period a percentage of dehydration. It can be fatal. You can die. You can go into body can go into shock, have a heart attack. It's like and unfortunately that's happened in the past. I think there was three wrestlers in America in like 1996, and they all died of dehydration and through means of cutting weight in the sauna. It's like it's not something to be taken lightly.
No, not at all. And I know because of that, NCAA and high school both banned the sauna and the
Yeah,
sauna suits, so you're not allowed to wear them anymore. Which is, I think, which is good. Now, a lot of people want to have like same day weigh-ins for
yeah,
MMA. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it would be good for the reason of people cutting weight and dehydration. But I still believe they should be the night before. What are your
yeah.
thoughts on that? How important is that to have that night of getting like rehydrated?
Well, it's very important in terms of I personally don't think they'll ever do a same day weigh-in. I just think
Mhm.
the realm of MMA and stuff. I just can't. The only way I could see that ever happening is if, unfortunately, something happened to a fighter and like they really had to, change the rules. But I can't see that changing. But like for example, you're cutting carbs out all week, up to fight week. Carbs is the main energy source, in
Mhm.
MMA and combat sports. So like that replenishment of them carbohydrate stores is vital post weighing. So if you haven't got that time period to do that, you're going into the fight fatigued. And if they did do the same weighing, no one would be well, you wouldn't be able to cut as much weight because it just wouldn't be
Mhm.
practical because you just haven't got the time period to do that. So it might be a bit like people who fight in jiu-jitsu competition with same day weigh and they don't cut a lot of weight. Some people still do, but it's just not
You're
practical
not
to
getting
do that.
punched in the face.
Yeah, because you haven't got that time period to replenish like carbohydrate stores, rehydrate. And as I mentioned before, about we don't know how long it takes for that fluid to get back. It's all good getting back into the body, but is it getting back into them vital organs?
Absolutely. Um, Now I want to transition to something I enjoy is eating. I see you on your Facebook, on your Instagram page. You posting all the different recipes and food and all on there. How important? Like we see diet. Tom Brady is always guys changes his whole diet. Has a chef that cooks special meals for him. When you're cooking those meals, how hard is it to figure out what you want to eat and what you don't want to eat and what to stay away from? Like I know every little food has their own thing that kind of helps and doesn't help. How hard is this?
I think you got. I look at like in specific set of principles. Like when you're training, post train, you need good carbohydrates down you. You need plenty of vegetables, plenty of fiber, good protein. So, for example, like my meal plans, you probably see like a lot of fitness type people like they do meal plans and it's just like chicken and broccoli diet. It's like
Mhm.
this is where the guys just start. It makes like the fight camp experience just like so shit. It's like though I like my philosophy is like I try and take that and make things as easy as possible. Like so, on my plans is stuff like there's burritos, there's
Okay.
Mexican dishes because like you know you can still eat good food and make the weight. You just got to eat the right food. You got to make sure like limit the fat and have more like healthy food, takeaways and stuff like that. But you know, like it's crazy to think like especially when I get like diet recall from fighters when they first sign up, like what you typically eat in the fight camps. Like, oh, I have like an orange juice and like a Subway sandwich and diet coke and that's it for the day. It's like, and how did you feel? Like I felt like shit. It's like, of course you did. Of course you felt like shit. It's like it's crazy. It's like people just think, oh yeah, I need to make weight, so I just have to eat the blandest food possible, and then
Mhm.
just yeah, it's crazy. But as I said, like more and more people like me in the area are like promoting that you can eat good, tasty food and still make the weight. But like I typically in like a fight camp go for like it's a bit of a template, like a 3-2-1 principle. So someone making weight, 3 grams per kilogram of body mass in carbohydrates. So say guys, 70 kilos, that's 210 grams of carbs a day, 2 grams per kilo in proteins, that's like 140 grams of proteins. Like this, America's in pounds, isn't it, in kilos? Like
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to,
I think what's a every pound is 2.2 kilos, I believe.
yeah, yeah. So, and then 1 gram per kilogram of fat. So that typically stays around like your rest and metabolism. So you don't really want to go below that because that's when you've got um, potential like overtraining syndromes and stuff like that. So that's like a general template I try and give to people who just seeking out advice what you should eat during a fight camp. And then you just tailor that around, for example, high training days, you might increase the carbohydrates a little bit more just to fuel you. And
Mhm.
then when like rest days and low intensity, say a run, you don't need that amount of carbohydrates. So you just drop it down, increase the protein, increase the fat. So it's just making little tweaks. But like the general thing is like you can eat, a good amount of food and still make the weight, but it's just tweaking it around your training schedule.
That's awesome. And now, for those who want to follow Peter on social media on Instagram, his handle is at condition.nutrition. So definitely go check it out. Peter, what would you tell someone and what do you do with someone when they first come to you, they're raw, they're green. How do you start and figure out, all right, where do we need to start? What do we need to fix and go from there?
Well, firstly, I always like my principle is like test, don't guess. So if someone comes to me says, "Well, like Peter, 8 weeks out, I need to get X amount of weight." I firstly get them to get some sort of body fat assessments,
Okay.
and just to see basically what's under the hood, because they could be, fighting at lightweight and they're walking around at 82 kilos, but you've got 10% body fat. It's like, where are we pulling that weight from? So it's always to determine, can you make that weight? And
Hmm.
then, so try and get as much, like, that's either through like a DEXA scan, or like, even though it's not the most accurate ways, like a lot of gyms have like in-body scans, like you stand on the scales or someone with the calipers, just to get that number. So like, okay, right, you're at this percentage body fat. We know that we can get you down. Say, back to an example, someone's walking around at 82 and fighting at lightweight, and they're 18% body fat. It's like, okay, we know we can get you down to around potentially 10-12%, and we can get that weight off, because there's room to move in comparison if you didn't have that, if you had a really low percentage of body fat. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
You try and get as many variables as you can, especially in like I've got a couple of guys who fight in the UFC, so we try and get them in. So I've got one of my local fighters, we try and get them in the university and do some like testing, some like
Hmm.
VO2 max testing to test the fitness, strength testing. So when it's right, okay, we know, for example, we need to work on, X, Y, and Z for the fight camp, and then you can tailor the nutrition around that. But obviously, not everyone has the luxury of doing that. But for your standard fighter, definitely a body fat assessment, because you can predict the calories around that, and then once you know what the body fat percentage is, you can tailor the plan around that.
Awesome. Now you said you have 40 to 45 guys working with you. A few in the UFC. Who are the fighters you got in the UFC right now?
So I've got two guys who just won in Dana White Contender Series. So Jack
Oh,
Della
awesome.
Maddalena,
Awesome.
he's fighting next week on the Ngannou card. So he's just flowing out. He's from Perth, so
Okay.
he's flowing out on Friday. And I've got Jake Hadley as well. He's from the UK. So he won on Dana White Contender Series 2 months ago. So his debut's in the London card on 19th of March.
Oh, all
So
right.
two really good, like, young up and coming fighters, and it's good to work with people like that, because they're hungry, they always want to improve, and it's
Hmm.
good for me, because it sort of ups my level of my practice and trying to get the best out of them. But yeah, two really good prospects, and yeah, Jack's got his debut next week, so be really exciting.
Awesome. And now, how have you been down in Australia with the COVID going on? Everything I hear in the news, it sounds like it's pretty bad down in Australia. How is it down there?
Well, it's weird in Perth, because we've sort of been like locked away, because we're the biggest state in Australia, and like the Premier Prime Minister of Western Australia is like pretty much closed us off from the rest of Australia and the world. So we've lived pretty normal. We had the initial, when it first happened, like 6 weeks lockdown. We've had like two snap lockdowns for like 4 or 5 days, and that's been about it, really.
Okay.
We've been pretty living life normally. It's frustrating because I'm, as I said, I'm from the UK, so I've been able to see family and stuff for like nearly 3 years now. But hopefully,
Oh,
hopefully
jeez.
stuff's starting to open up, and it's good as well, because a lot more events are popping up now. Especially in the UK and over here, because things are easing and borders are opening. So it's a good time for me, because there's plenty of people wanting to fight and have a little bit of weight to lose.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, how, if someone wants to reach out to you, how can they do that? I know you're on Instagram, you got a pretty big following on there, but how else can they reach you?
Probably the best way to get hold of me is through my Instagram. I'm always on there, because that's my main sort of source of contact. Condition.nutrition. Or if you want to contact me on my email, it's conditionnutrition@yahoo.com. Yeah, just either contact me on either of them. And if you want any advice, just drop me a message. I'm happy to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, Peter, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I've learned quite a bit. I think this interview will be definitely helpful for a lot of young fighters. If you could give one piece of advice to someone just starting MMA or combat sports, boxing, or where any sport where you have to watch your weight, what would be that one piece of advice?
I think either seek out a professional or start to educate yourself. Some of the basics, just you can search like just basic recommendations on carbohydrate recovery. Just getting that education, and then that will help you, and that help you massively in the future.
Awesome. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Miller, condition.nutrition on Instagram. Go check him out. He's got a pretty big following, over 10,000 followers. And you got all sorts of recipes and other information, educational on there, which is pretty cool. And I see a chicken, what does it look like? A chili beef and avocado quesadilla on there, your last post. That looks
Yeah,
pretty
it's
delicious.
a favorite on the fight camp. Yeah, a few guys love that recipe, so I thought to share it.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. But I appreciate you coming on and looking forward to talking to you again in the future.
No worries, pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Peter. This is Carol's Corner MMA podcast, sponsored by Pro Fitness MMA Gym. 24 hours. Go check it out. We are signing off.